Chassidus and Chizzuk, Parsha VaYeshev. We're not going to be learning all the sources. We're going to try to get through 3, maybe 4. Okay? Starting with the Drishat Tziyon, Torah is about Eretz Yisrael. This is not Chassidus, this is Etzim Torah on Eretz Yisrael. We should never forget about Yerushalayim, even when we're learning Torah, so start out with that. VaYeshev-Yaakov be'eretz Migrei Aviv be'eretz Canaan. Yaakov, came back to, was dwelling in the land of his fathers, be'eretz Canaan, in the land of Canaan. There's 2 beautiful ideas. Mikan Amri Yeshivat Chutz La'aretz Eina Nikret Yeshiva Ela Yeshivat Eretz Yisrael. The only thing that's called dwelling, the only thing in the world that we can define as a real yeshiva, as a real dwelling place, is Eretz Yisrael. In Chutz La'aretz, it does not count. You cannot be miyushav. You're not dwelling. You're not in a specific kavua place. You are just living, floating through life.
What's the idea?
It's saying that because it's being madgish, because it's specifying that it's VaYeshev-Yaakov. It's saying VaYeshev-Yaakov be'eretz Canaan. That until then there was no yishuv. There's no yishuv das. There's no yishuv aguf. Right? And continuing, why is it such a double lashon in the pasuk? Why are we saying this thing twice? It's enough if he just said be'eretz Migrei Aviv. We know, okay, we know he's living in Eretz Canaan. Nachman has to specifically say, the Netziv answers, Od tam b'shvil shehu Eretz Canaan. The yeshiv is a mitzvah yeshuva Eretz Yisrael. The other reason why it brings and specifically says Eretz Canaan is to be madgish, to clarify to us and to point out that there's a mitzvah yeshiva Eretz Yisrael to live in Eretz Yisrael. The yeshiv is and because of that, and also Eretz Yisrael is more mukhshar, it's more fitting and more able to help us get to a place of Taras HaKodesh, of purity and of Kedusha. Hey, beautiful piece from the Netziv, beautiful piece from Drishat Tziyon about the Chashivos of Eretz Yisrael. Moving on, we are going to do a piece from the Kedushas Levi. V'yaman v'yomer aleishes adonav, right? V'yaman, he refused. So van v'yamain, hatam al v'yamain shalshelet. Right? The tam, the trup on top of the word v'yamain that he refused is a shalshelet. Right? Shalshelet. Right, beautiful though. Right? So that's a shalshelet. V'shalshelet hu haramat kol. Shalshelet is when the person has to get louder every time a chazan goes up, because it's such a funny thing. It very rarely happens. So we know there's a lot of limud that we take out of any time you see a shalshelet in the Torah. You have to really focus on it and see what's going on there, because it's clearly HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to be screaming out. They want us to be screaming out something. It's a person screaming out that he's disgusted, that he's refusing, because he's disgusted by this act. That the Kedushas Levi is saying about Yosef Tzaddik, that when this bad thing came to him, when Eshes Potiphar came to him, he screamed out. That's the initial reaction. The initial reaction was when things come at us, when we have an nisayon. I'm going to talk about nisayons. When a person has an nisayon in life, whether it's in the olam hagashmi, whether it's in the olam ruchani, in the physical or the spiritual world, it doesn't make a difference what you're doing. The main thing the Torah is teaching us by putting that trup on top is saying, scream out. The second you recognize that there's something that's not part of your derech in avodas Hashem, there's not something that's going to completely help you get to your place of perfection, the initial reaction a person has to have is just to scream out, ah! It should shock you. Boom. And even if you continue to fall, at least you have a chance now. But if a person just, something's happening, so I'll just fall. A person gets stuck in a wave. You realize something coming. The first thing you do is, right? You have to recognize something's happening. The second a person recognizes, to scream out to wake yourself up and to wake those up around you to help you also. It's a very important part of avodas Hashem is to help. Is there something's happening, to call out to friends, to call out to Rebbe, to call out to our mentors and people around us. That's also part of the shalshelet. The shalshelet is waking us up. Maybe just to be medayik, I'm just thinking of this now, that the shalshelet is saying that right now I'm calling out to 3 people. I'm waking myself up. I'm calling out to Hashem, 2. And 3 is the people around me. That I have to wake everyone up. I have to wake up all the different places in order to bring myself up at the center. It's beautiful Torah from Kedushas Levi. Continuing on. Just trying to keep the time. I want to keep this to the right amount of time. Now we're going to learn a piece from the Baal Shem Tov, Chosyogan Elena. It says that Yosef Tzaddik was coming back from whatever he was doing out of the house. He was coming back to the house to do his work. It says in Masechet Zota, Daf Lamed Vav, quick teaching about parentheses in Gemara. That when it says Amud Bet parentheses, if you flip the daf on its side, really it's a smiley face. Look at it on its side. Right now, the Gemara is smiling at us, and if it's a daf Amud Aleph, it's actually winking at us. So the Gemara is always talking at us. It's actually a person. The Gemara is smiling at us right now because we're learning the Gemara. Shirad Yukono Shel Aviv. It says that Yosef Tzaddik, when he was going back into the house, and the nisayon happened, this test happened to him, he saw the image of his father. We know that Eshes Potiphar was very, very beautiful to Yosef. It wasn't that he was some big, he was a guy who was and wasn't looking around him. Yosef Tzaddik was a real person, and there was a beautiful woman there, and the Medrash continues on. It says in Tanchuma that the Kalim Shalavsha B'Shachar Shalavsha Osam B'Chetzi Hayom B'Chetzi Hayom Shalavsha Ben Arbaim B'Galim Shalavsha B'Tzafar Shalavsha B'Ramsha. That throughout the day she kept changing her clothes. Every single day that Yosef Tzaddik was in the house, she would be constantly changing her clothes so that he wouldn't get used to what she was wearing. Every single day she'd come and try a new thing. Oh, maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do my hair differently like this way. Maybe I'll do this way. And morning, afternoon, night, every single thing, she'd constantly be changing her clothes to constantly be reawakening the test for Yosef in order to get him closer to him. Right? So we know that Yosef Tzaddik, it wasn't just this easy thing for him. He was attracted to her. There was a beauty to her. But Yosef Tzaddik, he didn't become a chayfetz. He didn't belong to this beauty. He didn't desire this beauty. Even though he was attracted to this thing, even though he saw that there was a beauty to this woman, the only beauty that the only tiferet, the true beauty that he desired was tiferet elyon, the true the spiritual beauty of the world and the beauty of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shehu diukono shel aviv, and that is what the Gemara is telling us when it says that Yosef Tzaddik saw the image of his father, Tiferet Yisrael, the beauty of Yisrael. V'zehu b'yanas v'yetzei achutza. We know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls Yaakov El. Yaakov Avinu in his whole derech and his tiferes and his finding the beautiful line. And there's a lot of depth to what this means. That Yaakov Avinu was called El. He was called a God. But on a certain level, when Yosef Tzaddik sees the image of his father, he was reawakening inside himself. He was refocusing his goals. He sees this woman in front of him. She's mamish beautiful. There's a true beauty to Eshes Potiphar, and constantly changing. And even though he was in the house every day, she was constantly changing her clothing. She was constantly changing the Yisrael and reawakening it. And therefore, he imagined in his eyes and in his brain, he saw the image of his father. Really, he saw the image of true spirituality and focused his goals in the proper places. And therefore, he ran away and he went outside. He ran away from the beauty of the gashmis of this world, and he translated that love and desire and put it into the right place. It's a very, very important piece in Chassidus, not just in VaYeshev-Yonah, even for anyone who's not a Chassid. I'm sure that's brought down, I hope it's brought down in others' farm also, not just in the world of Chassidus. We all have desires, physical desires. It's a fact. We all have physical emotions. I'm a very excited person. I'm a comedic person. I'm a person with lots of desire, with lots of energy, with lots of excitement. Anything you can imagine, all these different emotions we have. And generally speaking, the way that our natural bodies work, when it's not focused on the world, those emotions come out very easily. Oh, this person is just constantly excited about random things. So a person who has that midah, so the Baal Shem Tov is telling us right now what Yosef did with that midah of seeing this beauty. And we know that Yosef Tzaddik he was constantly being attracted to beauty. We know that the Rashi tells us that he would always play with his eyebrows to make sure he looked beautiful, look in the mirror. So there was this. Oh, okay. So Yosef Tzaddik clearly he has this attraction. He has this affinity towards beauty. And so what does he do? So he realized, oh, I have a koach here, and so he knew that he had to just transfer his goals and transfer his focus and put it in the right place. Not to subdue yourself as a person. I, Yonah Friedman, am now going to get rid of myself as a person and become Joe. No, I'm Yonah Friedman and I have personalities, and I'm going to translate myself into Yonah Friedman with those personalities, the Kedusha, in order to be a spiritual person. We'll come back to this in the Chazara. Okay, how are we doing on time? Shem, help us, please. Okay, wow. We might actually do a lot. Kavaldik. Now we're going to learn a teaching from the VaYeshev-Yonah, the Ishbitzer. The Yehuda Yehuda Meis Achiv. When Yehuda, after the whole Maisa of them selling Yosef, so Yehuda goes down. He goes away, he goes into a gullus. Why did Yehuda go and get married now? Everything just went to the trash. Right? Everything just got messed up. Yosef and Tzaddik, they all realized they made a big mistake. Yehuda, he's completely befuddled as to what to do with life. So you know what? I'm going to go on a HaShiloach crisis date. I'm just going to go travel somewhere where the ladies are, and I'm going to go find a wife. Why was this his initial reaction? My initial reaction to bad things, generally speaking, isn't I'm going to get married now. You start dating, you start getting married in a place of godless, of things going properly. Okay, now I'm ready to move on to the next step. Generally speaking, that step of marriage isn't coming in a place of complete shviras hakelim, when all your vessels and all of your potential just got thrown out the window. So what's happening here? He saw that Yaakov needed some sort of nachama. He needed something that was going to make him feel better. He realized that the task fell upon him to Menachem. His father Yehuda, he was a leader. He realized that he had to do something, and he was very broken because of this. V'chashav ki chashav efes tikva mimenu v'halach lisa isha sha'amar efsha sheyeh li banim tovim asher mehem yitzmach binyan adei ad. He said, I don't have the potential to do anything because I messed up. I was involved in Mechiras Yosef. I'm done. All my potential is gone. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go marry a woman, and through this woman we'll be able to have children, and those children will have potential, and they can make a binyan adei ad. They will be able to bring us close to our perfected place in Avodas Hashem. Right, and that's what he says in the parentheses. He says that his son Er comes from Yair. That Yair alein Hashem Yitbarach ruach mamrom hashalom, mimarom hashalom. That through the schus of having this child will be the one who's going to bring it up, but I can't do it. That's what he said. Ve'achar kach hevin lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu im chas shalom be'emes asher ata choshev she'ein lecha tikva ve'ein lecha chayim b'shoresh im kein af im tolid me'ah halo lo yachlu hiyot b'chayim yoter mimcha. There's a stark Harif piece of Musar from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, if you don't think you have potential to do anything with your life, then even if you have 100 kids, those children won't be able to do anything either. Don't think that I'm nothing, but my children will also be able to do something. If you're nothing, then your children are also going to be nothing. If I think I don't have potential, then my children also won't be able to. It's a wild, wild concept. HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends us through the pipes of spirituality. He sends us life, and therefore when I'm accepting that life, I have to view it as a potential. And therefore, if you in your own brain, if your whole life is just, I'm going to be living in the moment right now because I don't have potential to do something better with my life, then also Todatecha, your lineage and all your descendants will also be Chayisha. They're going to be people who are living in the moment. They're not going to have anything that's beyond this world. Therefore, only after he realized this point does he have his son Shelah who does live. That's why we see that his first two sons, they don't have children, they die, they get killed for Zer Levatala, all these different concepts, but this is going back into the shorish of it. It's not because Stam Zer Levatala. It's because they came from a place of Yehuda, when Yehuda, his whole world was that of zero potential. And so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, just like you don't have potential, so to your children don't have potential. But the second he realized, wait a minute, maybe I can do something good with this. So then Shelah is born, and from Shelah comes, we know Shelah has parrots, and parrots becomes Mashiach, all the way down the lines. Right? HaShiloach is a fascinating concept. If I don't view my life as something with chashivas, then anything that I do and anything that I create doesn't have chashivas either. And I can't think, by doing this specific thing, or by creating that, and I'll let that do the work, but I'm myself, I'm nothing. So then the koach that you're putting into it isn't giving it real koach. It's the beauty of self-esteem, the beauty of confidence in what you're doing. That if you want to create something that's going to make an influence in the world, an influence on other people, you have to view yourself as a person with that potential, with that ability to. If I don't think that I have that potential and ability, then people are going to read right through it. And the thing that I'm creating, the thing I'm trying to do also isn't going to do anything. It's a beautiful, beautiful, really, really, really intense piece in the HaShiloach. Okay. Last couple minutes, we're going to learn one piece of Nachman. We have to decide. We've got 3 pieces. Oh my goodness, and they're all from the world. No, that's not that one.
Okay. What's 3?
Well, it's either not that point now, it's either 3 or 1, so can't go too far. Okay, let's do number 3. More Rebbe Nachman, Gewalt. But it's very important. The pieces are relatively understandable. Afterwards, to go 3 is on the last one. More Rebbe Nachman. That's what it says. It's very important to go over the other 2 pieces. Very understandable, very short, important to how to live life. And she grabbed onto his clothing. Potiphar comes to Yosef. After all, she's constantly quitting her clothes. Wait, we've discussed already. She comes, she grabs onto him. He's very big though. The Baal Davar, the Sitra Acha, the Yetzer Hara, when it comes to a person that grabs onto our clothing, the way the Yetzer Hara works, he doesn't come in and he doesn't try to get our etzem person. He doesn't try to come in and fight with our actual self. The way the Yetzer Hara gets us to make mistakes is he comes and deals with the peripheral problems. He sends a person walking down the street that I'm not supposed to be looking at. He comes and sends an idea in my mind of maybe something he sends a person who's doing something really silly, and I'm going to start speaking bad about that person. But that's not necessarily the shorish. That's not dealing with the root of who I am. That's what the Yetzer Hara does. When a person when the Yetzer Hara grabs onto the begadim, onto the peripheral parts of my life, it allows me to get confused and gets me lost in terms of where I'm going. It confuses my goals and confuses my focus. Because I'm constantly focused on, how am I going to stop talking Lashon Hara about that specific person? But what the Rebbe Nachman is saying is that the main problem which the Yetzer Hara isn't dealing with, and it's preventing me from dealing with, is what's wrong with me as a person that I'm so focused on saying Lashon Hara about people. And that's why Eshes Potiphar comes and grabs onto his clothes dafka. That's what the pasuk is being merames to. It's hinting to us that. Someone who's a Baal Nefesh, someone who really, he's an owner of his soul, someone who really truly feels that he's achrai, he's responsible for the health of his soul, and his heart is strong and constantly desiring to be close to Hashem. He doesn't even have clothing on. Someone who's a real Eved Hashem, he doesn't focus on those perimeter things, those peripheral things, because the only thing that he's focusing on is what he's doing in actual life, what he's doing in actual Avodas Hashem. And if a person does that, then there's no clothes for such a achad to even get stuck on. To run through this, that's why it says Yosef left his clothes, he left his shirt. That's what got him that in the end. That's what Potiphar came and got him in jail for, right? Because he left his shirt in there. But he doesn't care where his clothes are left. And you know what? And if someone comes and messes him up because he left his clothes there, so he'll deal with it later. Because it's not the problem right now. That's a peripheral detail. About avoda, someone who really, really cares about what they're doing about Shem. It's important to be able to stop yourself. It's important to set up tricks and guidelines as to how you're not going to fall for those small little traps. But beyond that world of setting up guidelines and reading, Shmir Saloshon daily and putting filters on the computers and doing everything on the peripheral, we tend to forget to focus on our problem as a person as a whole, not on the peripheral things. So that's a very, very, very beautiful teaching of Nachman, and a very, if we can really focus on that teaching, it really as a whole changes the way we live our life. So again, quick chazar, Drishat Tziyon, very Charif, telling us a person is never going to be dwelling. You can never have anything focused, anything real in the world unless you're Eretz Yisrael. Otherwise, it's all fleeting constantly. Right? Then we learned from the Baal Shem Tov, from the Kedushas Levi, person has to scream out. It's very important. It's a good eitzah. If you feel like yourself falling, scream out, someone come help me! Don't be afraid. Don't be embarrassed to scream out. The Baal Koreh screams it out once a year. He screams out for all of us, but also throughout the year. It's a teaching for the year that we should always go and scream out if we have to reach out. We have people to reach out to. That's the point of the world. Right? And the Baal Shem Tov, he came and told us that a person, that we all have beautiful emotions and beautiful tendencies. We have to just put it into the right place. Then the HaShiloach told us that a person has to view themselves with self-confidence, that I have the ability to make changes. I have the ability to make something real in the world. And if I don't do that, then whatever I'm creating isn't going to have anything either. So it's very important. It's self-confidence. We have to have our self-esteem in a healthy place. We have to have our confidence in a healthy place and realize that the fact that I'm living means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving me life, and therefore I have the ability to also create life and to create good in the world. And then the Rebbe Nachman, in the last, how to make sure this all stays right is to be focusing on the shoresh. We should focus on the real things, the root problems, and not focus on the small problems. The only way to stay safe is to make sure those small problems aren't happening, but behind the walls, to make sure we know what's going on in our neshama. So B'ezras Hashem, to Makabel the teachings of Tzaddikim, to Makabel the teachings of all Tanaim and the Marim, the teachings of Drishat Tziyon, the Rebbe Nachman, the Breslov, the Baal Shem Tov, the Kedushas Levi, the Torah Sashem, Berditchev, and B'ezras Hashem, K'zochar Mashiach.